Welcome to another special march, yours truly, towards the sun. 6:30 p.m. EST, we're gonna go towards the sunset. Never seen 35 degrees on my application. Heat wave continues. Very hot day today. I don't think I ever actually felt it so hot. I think this is the hottest day of 2025, and of course my memory since spring 2014, hot. I used to go in the sun, you get hit by that sun, and I don't mind. I guess if I stay out in the sun, I'm just gonna have to put a little bit of that sunscreen, but it is a hot day. Heat wave continues, heat wave warning until Wednesday, so I guess this is like the 5th day in a row. It's been a long heat wave, and that's why we gotta get on that drill, always for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, the plumbers, those in the daycares who changed some diapers today. I did some cleaning, some work, did my laundry, sent some emails, and here I am now doing this work around Hakala, Montreal, of course my city, in this life and in another one, and always encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, and working out, train, exercising has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy of choice, and that's always a hot day. It's good to stay hydrated today. Super important to stay on that hydration and turn your head left to right before you cross the street, because you never know. Sometimes the brakes malfunction, the electricity snaps off the brakes, and the citizen driver might press the accelerator instead of the brake, and it's a hot day, so everybody's a little bit on that HOT, heat wave. And gotta salute the bus drivers across the 63, always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. This independent aspie artist, athlete, philosopher, geopolitical theoretical, honest and theorist, and thinker and strategist, androgynous, pansexual, was yesterday. Well, although it's Pride Parade 24/7, yours truly, you got that once a year in your respective cities where there's the Pride Parade, but if you're part of the LGBTQ community like me, it's always 24/7, so for the bus drivers across the 63, for the plumbers, the electricians, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, and all those involved in the production, distribution of food. And always gotta turn my head, because you never know if the brakes malfunction on the car, and the citizen might press the accelerator, and that's always something which can happen in the event point in time, as I am now on this Monday, 11th of August. I gotta begin with my gratitude, grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bill's paid, got food and coffee. Some coffee got left, and got some food, and even got some sweets. Got some sweets with that, and I got my sweet tooth, I got that wafers, which I love wafers, and I don't have wafers anymore, but I have a chocolate bar and a little bit of that hazelnut spread. I'm gonna try it for the first time. It was on special last week, and I'm actually surprised I didn't devour it over the weekend, I guess, because I rested a lot, and I just took a cold bath, I'm trying this new practice, taking cold baths and bathing, in that cold water. And I substitute for winning. I want to get a massage therapist, finance the public work as a massage therapy session, BNS. I've been, of course, calling for any volunteers. It's always good if I can get some volunteers for a massage therapy session, because that's something which I would love to have. I guess it's pricey now, expensive. I don't know how much it costs, because I haven't gone, and that's what it is with that. And of course that is something which we have to get undergoing. But if maybe somebody wants to volunteer, that would be nice, because for me from now on it's friends with benefits only, something which we have to be doing. And just to let you know, you gotta be 18 plus, you want to do some of that loving, but that's what it is with that. And it's something which we have to get understanding about as we move forwards our collective, of course, individual sovereign freedoms, and what we are as individual sovereign citizens. Myself of Quebec, Canada, get that Canada tatted up 24/7. I always carry the flag, even in the sleep, even when I sleep, so I got that flag tatted up. Don't ask me when I got that Canada tatted up, but probably decades ago, because my memory is a bit blackout, and I got retrograde amnesia. It's a condition where you cannot remember memories prior to. I don't know if I was I don't know if I was a junkie. 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 Of course, that is something which, of course, is a possibility. That I did lots of hard drugs or lots of alcohol. A few years, maybe I was an alcoholic prior to spring 2014. But I really have problems remembering. I have a good memory, a very good memory, but the problem is memory prior to 2014, spring 2014 to be precise. So my life remains a mystery prior to spring 2014, kind of like February, March. Let's see what we got. We got some nice. What these? I'm gonna take a few. Whoops. Let's see. The bananas are black, but I still eat them even if they're black like that. Although these ones I'm gonna for somebody else. I'm just gonna take a few of these, and I got something to put myself in the other one. So I got, and so I'm gonna get doing and do that work, you know. So it's fun. And some bananas there, you know. Got a little bit. 4 bananas. They're black, but even if they're black like that, usually I take them because I eat them nonetheless, you know. That's something which I can take, but well, there's more. There's a 5th banana there, and this time I guess you can check there. So some of that, if you want some apples, some green apples, you can enjoy your green apples and the bananas, and I guess you can always put a little bit of that. And I'm just gonna drop something here. Got something to drop in the other side here. See here, I gotta drop. So now I'm gonna give these away because they can be reused. And oh, we got some corn. So I'm gonna take some corn. Let's see. We're gonna some corn, and just gonna eplucher right here. So because we got a bag, we got one where first corn is always good to have. And wow, this is gonna be a big corn. Look at that. It's a big corn. Maybe boil it tomorrow morning. I think for myself and for my anonymous friend, you know, to get a little bit on that corn side of things. And that's what we got, and that's what we're gonna get a little bit of that corn with it and get that épluchés, you know. Some things which we gotta clean with it, and that's why we got a little bit of that clean sides. Always for the bikers, butchers, nurses, doctors, firefighters, the plumbers, the electricians, the welders. Always gotta get a little bit of that for them, and always gotta get a little of that transportation. You know, imagine all the transportation, the truckers now on the road carrying corn like this. How many is transported? And these are the big, thick ones. So I'm gonna be shooting a few for me, and I'm gonna leave some for others because there's 2 boxes there. But it's always important, you know, to take a little bit of that and a little bit of that go, and that's what we gotta get doing, you know. A little bit of that corn here, see? That's nice. So I'm just gonna clean it up and take one more for me, and always for my anonymous friend as well. So I'm gonna take a few. See, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we got some more here. Thank you for the donation. See, we got some corn. Look at that. Somebody had left some corn there. So I'm just gonna take 3 more, and that's it. And this is gonna go inside. You can put that there, and that can be, of course, composted. So this can be, of course, composted. So once somebody else puts it there, for the rest, because I'm gonna leave a lot. I'm taking for 2 people. So thank you for this donation. And I guess the farmers, how much corn we grow in Canada, Quebec, Montreal, and across the United States. It's always a meditation, even in terms of geopolitics. Anybody who wills to commission the geopolitical work about corn, you know, I can do a geopolitics just on corn, you know. So to do the geopolitics on corn, I guess we'll have to do it together. You know, this is a beauty. Look how big is that. Isn't that just beautiful? Beautiful to me. Somebody else as well who appreciates, you know, the corn. And see, I'm putting all of it here so that I don't make a mess. But look at this beauty. And this one's gonna be the last one. Oh yeah, that's some good ones. It's very thick, very healthy looking, very strong, very... So I don't know if it's Canadian or whatever it is, if it's Canadian or US, you know? That I don't know. That I don't know. What I do know is that I'm grateful for having, and this is where all the goes. And I left 11 pieces for somebody else because I took for 2, you know, so I'm gonna put it there and somebody else can take the rest. By the time I'm coming back later around after 10 o'clock, I guess somebody else might have taken, and gonna serve somebody else, you know, if somebody else takes it, and that's always good. Gonna place it there. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we got some corn, and got some corn in the backpack, so we're gonna load it up. I guess it's a little bit more weight now. There's more weight in it. Not that much weight, but there's still a considerable amount of weight now being added on it. And I guess it's always something which we gotta appreciate implicitly. I'm so happy I got corn, you know. I'm very happy for this pieces of corn, which I guess if the heat wave ends tomorrow, you know, then I can do it on Wednesday. It's nice, you know, to do them. Make sure we got it on the back. That's it. Got that corn. Here I am, grateful, thankful, sunshine pantry. This I'm gonna just stack a bit so that there's no, you know, because you have a second one, and that's the 11 pieces of corn left. And you got that fridge there in the community, so that's always good to get a little bit of that fridge and give somebody to somebody else. And yeah, I'm happy now, you know, got some corn. And you know, it's always across the street here prudently. Turn your heads left or right before you cross the street, and gotta watch for the cars. Sometimes they come for either side. See, like that car. Gonna watch out for my fellow citizen there crossing the street, you know, safely, and get a little bit on that pedal. And here's a massage parlor. Can give them a call, ask how much they cost. 483-5586, 483-5586, 483-5586. I don't know how much it costs, but I wouldn't be able to afford it anyways. And that's why I say friends will benefits only from now on. Anybody want to trade? Exchanging massage therapy sessions. And you know, you gotta be 18. If you're black, you're white or black, you're a man or you're a woman. I am androgynous, pansexual. You hit that 50-50, and if you want to rock and roll, then we can rock and roll. If not, I don't will to waste nobody's time. Don't waste mine, I don't waste yours. And that's how we rock and roll, you know, as a artist, athlete, philosopher. Who, all this civilization is a privilege, eh? Just having electricity and running water, something which is of course part of our collective and individual sovereign citizenship, right? As an individual sovereign citizen, who of course, an individual sovereign citizen who's part of the collective, and being part of the collective, of course, and the individual with the collective, we all have different levels of the privilege of civilization, but we all have it here in Canada, North America, and different other civilization, because this is applicable towards all general civilizations, you know. And we are a new emergent civilizational complex. We are a new civilizational complex in many ways, which we're not totally divorced, you know, but we are distinct from Western civilization. So those are the three main, of course, ideas to keep in mind as a philosopher, thinker, and artist, athlete, and mystic, M-I-S-T-I-C. You know, I don't have all the spiritual answers, but I am a mystic. I believe in God, Goddess. As a matter of fact, it's always God bless our coming empire and Goddess kiss. You gotta get that double trouble, 2 in 1. God bless our empire and got his kiss. And I always, for years and years and years, you see, because due to my Asperger's, I kind of have this ritual-like routines, you know, which for years and years and years, it's hours of videos marching from dating from many years ago, and it's marching, rock and roll, and geopolitics, because I am neurodivergent, and this neurodivergent has been a hell of a journey, I guess, with some pain, blood, sweat, and tears, and this difference, you know, because Aspies, we are different. We see the world differently because our brains have these mutations, and I love that red. And due to these small mutations at the micro level, of course, not bulging out of the cranium outside in the sphere, but they are, of course, internal mutations, and these mutations are think of them as transistors or nano micro level, right? So they're not bulging out, and you know, I love those yellow flowers there. They're nice yellow, they're so big. Look at those right across the street. Just love those yellow flowers like that. So they're not internal, they do not appear in, they are internal, correction, they are small microscopic internal mutations, and the brain, they're not visible exterior of the cranium nor of the brain, and they're usually like small tiny microbes, you know, for that, and coming in there, and that's what it is, and that's what we got, and so it is for that to just generate some of the holdings which we have. And so these differences, you know, these mutations of the brain make us that we're different, you know, for that. So these mutations make us sometimes weird, eccentric, and odd, as in relation parallel to the neurotypical population, with you are the vast majority of the population falls under the neurotypical category, and you are the 99.56%, with which us Aspies, neurodivergents, always have to build bridges, whether those bridges are small, medium, large, or extra large. I'm making the 4 categories comparison, just like if you would go to buy a coffee size or fries, you know, you order a small coffee, order medium sized coffee, order large or extra large. So of course, when you order these coffees or fries, those are the categories which you order them with, and of course, ordering them at different times of the week, you might order a small one or a medium one, or you might order a large one or an extra large one. So that is kind of similar to the bridges which we have to build with certain individuals of the neurotypical population of you, the 99.56%. So Asperger's, I gotta give a shout out, gotta give a thank you again to my anonymous friend who gifted me 2 books, but one specifically which kind of illuminated this was a rental from the library, which made me realize how, due to my condition, Asperger's, how I can be very vulnerable to certain things, certain situations, certain things, because we just don't fully understand certain social cues, social circumstances, social unwritten rules and regulations, such as, for example, personal space. I always have to work on it. Even last Tuesday, I was in a shop, we're discussing, and please don't use the word disease. I am not a disease, you know. I'm not a disease. And Asperger's, of course, is not a disease. It's not an illness. It's a neurological mental divergent condition. Makes us predisposed to these special type of characteristics and traits. Because you cannot medicate Asperger's. It's a lifelong condition, and the cause is inconclusive. It could be part hereditary, genetic, that is, biological, genetic, or it could be environmental. So it could be a little bit of each, actually, but it's inconclusive, the cause of Asperger's, also known as HFA, high functioning autism. I use both. I don't mind using both, but I still use Asperger's. So due to these mutations at the microscopic level, nano level of the brain, and other such characteristics which can be very odd, very strange, very weird, very bizarre from the neurotypical perspective, right? For example, just what's called our obsessive interest, although I don't use the word obsessive, special interest, because special interests are what, using the word, the terminology special interest, is what renders Asperger's render Aspies and myself as an individual, sovereign Aspie, more justice, because obsessive is something which tends to be more on the negative side, right? Because it can be detrimental. But Aspies, there is a paradox, because these special interests preoccupy our daily routines and habits to the point, of course, of intensity, intense, super focus, super concentration, super intensity, and super dedication, while we are involved in those special interests. We can be very intense, focused, hyper-focused, hyper-intense, but Aspies have to be supported. And it's true that many Aspies, the problem is, of course, we tend to neglect other things of society, of the socializing or other things, to the detriment of engaging in other things. Our special interests preoccupy most of our routines, and we have these type of ritualized like routines, which sometimes can seem very rigid and repetitive, and routine like repetitive, and sometimes it can be, depending on what the change is. Although I say that in the past 11 years I've changed a lot, because moving, and I thought it was 2016 July, but it's been 10 years. It was 2015 when I moved, and I used to live in this small type of prison cell, very small place, with even my kitchen was inside my room, and I had a quarter of a bathroom, barely fit in there, and no bathtub. So it was like a small prison cell. So I guess I always say I serve my time, I always say I serve my time with that, and having served my time, I guess that's something which we have to get doing on that, and we have to get on that appellation, to getting on that drill, so that is just what we have to do, and that is just always building those bridges. I have to make an effort, you have to make an effort. It's an individual and a collective effort, That is just how we gotta roll. The individual and the collective, and it's something which has to reach a little bit of compromise and balance, and that's always what we have to do. And yeah, it's a hot day, very hot today, hottest of 2025 today, 11th of August, month of Leo, second day of the full moon. Tomorrow's gonna be the third and last. It's always a little bit of that spirituality, a little bit of that rock and roll, and always geopolitics. So those are my special interests, basically the Trinity, and I'm engaged in those 24/7 almost concretely. It's geopolitics, the study, the analysis, geopolitical theorizing with that, and strategies, developing of strategies, and of course rock and roll, rock and roll, and sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, basically, and that's how I roll with it, and that's how we do it, and that's how I like to. It's not really a like per like, it's just innate, basically. It's part of our nature, these special interests, to just be preoccupied with them. So much of our daily routines are preoccupied in those activities. And the other problems for Aspies, we have to get to the problems as well. The main problems, lack of friends, so Trinity, main three problems for Aspies, for the general Aspie community, of which we're not a lot. Aspies, we constitute about 0.44%, less than 1%, less than half of a percent. So there's not a lot of Aspies in the world. In other words, there's not a lot of Aspies in the world. There's just not a lot. And we have these special interests, and certain mannerisms such as communication styles and interactions can be more difficult for the comprehension of a neurotypical, and it takes time, some effort on both, vice versa, reciprocity. So our main problems are lack of friends, and just because I don't will to waste nobody's time. Friends with benefits only. From now on, for me, it's friends with benefits only. Friends with benefits only. 18 plus. Just like when you go get a alcoholic beverage or legal cannabis, because since 2019 across Canada, coast to coast, cannabis is legal, or pledge your allegiance to our family. So the other problem is high depression and suicidal rates. It's 9 times higher than neurotypical. 9 times higher. You heard that correct. 9 times higher. So for Aspies, the depression and suicidal rate is 9 times higher. I was depressed and suicidal for a few years, I guess between summer 2014 and summer 2017. 3 years maybe. And what got me out of being depressed and being suicidal was crossing Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean. So crossing Canada coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. Summer 2017, August 15 actually. That's when me and my anonymous friend, we left for Vancouver, BC from Montreal. 3.5 day bus journey. We switched a few buses on the way, but it's long, eh? It's a long road, and 3.5 days to go and 3.5 days to come. So we spent 7 days, Montreal to Vancouver, Vancouver to Montreal total on the bus. And then in September we went by train. It took 25 hours and 44 minutes. It took 25 hours. Please don't leave trash there. 25 hours. 25 hours and 44 minutes. It took 25 hours and 44 minutes. That's how much it took by bus, by train, to do it by train, to come back by train. So that was an event which completely changed my whole life. Because before that, like I said, I was depressed and I was suicidal. I was depressed. I really wanted to end it, I guess. And I don't know my life prior to spring 2014 exactly. Spring 2014. Spring 2014. Because like I said, I have problems with my memory prior to that spring 2014, my life prior to that. I just remember leaving that moldy place. It was a small underground basement, moldy, lots of mold. It was like black, whitish, yellowish, greenish type of mold, you know. And I left, and I was depressed, suicidal, and crossing Canada coast to coast. That really made me establish a strong esprit de corps with my fellow Canadians, and it was a great trip. Basically ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, right? Because I went to the Pacific in August 2017. I got the tickets. I still kept the tickets, so I'm auctioning them. Auctioning them for me. I gotta double check the tickets because it might have been August 9th, 10th, or even 11th when we left. I gotta double check, but it was in August 2017. That I know for sure. The dates, there might be some mistakes in the dates, like I said, but I gotta check because I kept the plane, the bus, because we went by bus. It took us three days and a half, so that was pretty hardcore. Crossing Canada by bus. That was hardcore, to be honest. And I remember we switched buses several times along the route, but it's seeing Canada by bus, you know, just I guess the southern part, the south, right? Because what you can see by the highway, the Trans-Canadian Highway, but still pit stopping in every province and having a coffee here and there, a sandwich, and I met a lot of Canadians from all the different provinces along the way, and that's what made me come out of my depression. I had a revelation. I said, so many things to see, to do here across Canada, coast to coast, and to see, to do, to engage in, things to do, and to visit, to love, to experience. Just in this true north, strong and free, it's not enough to be strong and free. We got to add a little bit of that loving and a little bit of that justice with it, which I hope that we're going to be able to do in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead together, as we go on this journey, together of furthering our understanding, furthering our life, and furthering our wellness in many ways, because I always encourage people to work out, train, exercise, and this is what I'm doing now, basically, a little bit of that fitness, and it's always geopolitical meditation. I'm checking if I got $5 in my wallet, my little wallet. It says son, SUN. Thank you to my anonymous friend who gifted me this little wallet. I don't think I even have any clothes or anything that since I moved. I really moved where I am now. I really moved with nothing, to be honest. I had nothing. Really, I don't even know if I still have, if there's still things from, I don't know if there's still things that I brought with me. I don't know if there's still things that I brought from where I used to live prior to 2015. Whatever the case may be, just to finalize on Asperger's, and Aspie suffer a lot from high depression, high suicidal rates. I've been there, tough road, painful road. And the other problem is, lack of friends, high depression and suicidal rates. And the other problem, third problem, is high unemployment, and it's unacceptable. And it stands for Aspies, our tiny small community, at 80%. 4 out of 5, 10 out of 10, 80%. 80, it's 11 times higher. The proportionality and percentage wise, and how much is the disparity? 11 times higher mathematically. So for every unemployed of you, the vast majority of 99.56%, there's 11 of us Aspies, but we're so much less than you, than the majority. We're less than 1% of the North American population, even less than half of a percentile. We stand at 0.44%. And because of these characteristics, and I remember 4 years ago I had a job, and I remember it was saying, oh, that's a disease, it's a disease, that's a disease, that's a disease. No, I'm not a disease, and I am not that good at certain things. I understand that, and I'm improving certain characteristics, but I am good, of course, at geopolitics. To the point is, and this I have proof for, I have predicted what's happening now. Back in 2019, in October, November, I predicted it. Not exactly detail by detail, but I guess due to the curse of Asperger's, that I have a special interest in geopolitics. And when you have special interest as an Aspie, you focus. You're intense, concentrated, and engaged on a daily basis of hours and hours and hours of research, of study, of conclusions, of revisions. And the whole universe of geopolitics is global, right? Just like us here in the North American complex, what I call as a philosopher, the North American civilizational complex, that we are a civilizational complex which is not divorced but distinct from Western civilization. That is, of course, a geopolitical statement of truth in regard to the actuality of what we constitute North America. So now we're going to enter my realm, geopolitics, because that's what I'm good at, and it's the dream, my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. Pledge your allegiance, thou art family. Whoever wills, black, white, rainbow. If you're 18 plus, you want to do some good loving, we're going to do some good loving, because the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. And I'm not totally without pretense that I'm totally selfless, totally high up spiritual, that I don't engage in, that I don't feel lusts, because I do. I guess I get lustful and all the lusts and all this, and of the daily flesh, and which have to be sanctified, because the body is a temple for pleasure and purpose. And you know, I'm not that selfless, I'm not that selfish. I always try to be mindful. And with Asperger's, thank you again, anonymous friend who wasn't my friend because of the money, because I never had any, for the opening of my eyes with that book of how my difference makes me, Aspies makes us, the vast majority of Aspies, very vulnerable in certain things, in certain situations we just don't understand, we don't fully get, and thus it places us on the more, in different situations, more vulnerable to certain. That's elderberry, by the way. I still have juice from elderberry. Now they're turned into berries like this. It's the flower. In the past videos you can see the flower, but now they turn into these beautiful black and bluish, dark bluish black flowers. But that's elderberry, and that's, I don't know if you can make juice from those, that I don't know, but you make juice from the flowers, which I did. But see, now there's like a fruit coming out, but that's elderberry. And I made, of course, but from the flowers you make the juice. It came out really good. One bottle came out really good, one I haven't tasted yet, but all of my 4 bottles which I made, I said next year I'm gonna make 44. I gotta start collecting in early June, I guess, or mid-June, because by August they're gone. By mid-July they start to wear off, and end of July they're no longer. The flowers last about 4 weeks, so let's say from mid-June, even early June to early July, the best to get them, for the, cause they start blossoming late May, and then in June you can collect them. First week even of June, depending, but probably second, maybe third, late June for sure, early July for sure. That's when the most of the collection. Late June, first weeks of summer basically, first 4 weeks of summer best. And I guess even last days of spring, even if you go from June and July. But by mid-July they're starting to disappear. Elderberry flowers, I have the videos. I made the juice from here, and a lot of it went to waste. That's why next year I'm gonna try to make 44 bottles, 11 times what I made this year, 4 bottles, and they all came good. 4 bottles. You only need, so you could put honey if you have, but I put sugar, regular sugar, and of course you need water. So you put them in a container. It's recommended to be, of course, of glass, and you need to get a good proportion of flowers, usually about a dozen, depending for, if you do a gallon, probably more. If you do a few liters, 2 liters, it means 2 liter bottles. 2 liter bottles, put some sugar, whatever the taste, sugar, you can add sugar after, but it's always good to put a little bit of sugar while the fermentation, and it's about 4 days. So 4 days the process. You enclose it and it'll leave about 4 days, and it not in the sun though, not in the sun. You put it somewhere to ferment, and not in the sun, and then you have the drink. Well, elderberry juice it's called. It's even marketed by several companies, mostly in Europe, Germany, Croatia I believe, and maybe even Italy and other countries, Poland also. And I'm not sure exactly all the countries, but several countries in Europe. It's rare here, you don't see it, but it's marketed there. But mine came out really good. So next year I'm going to try to do 44, because this year I did 4 bottles. 4. So that's about it with Asperger's. Just going to finalize as no, it's not a disease. There's no medication for Asperger's, and you cannot medicate Asperger's. I have to work on my Aspie characteristics and be mindful when to speak, how to speak, not to get too close in conversation. We tend to breach the personal space, you know. We tend to get so close, 2-3 inches, and the person might feel intimidated, or intimidation, or security concerns, or, you know, all these more paranoia type of sentiments, or might feel a bit encroached, might feel a bit weird, might feel a bit insecure, also might be a bit concerned also, you know, all these can trigger because it's an Aspie. Aspies, we have to work on that, hey? If you're an Aspie, you know what I mean. We tend to get so close in conversation, these personal space, these social unwritten rules, right? Personal space, these are more difficult for Aspies, when to speak, when not to speak, and I wouldn't be able to know if somebody's into me, you know, stuff like that. You get men or women, you gotta let me know, hey, want to be friends with benefits? Hide from your videos, friends with benefits. See what you got. You got some massages. I dance. Dancing is my favorite sport. I channel priestess or the goddess. I say priestess, not a hoe. H-N-N-A-H, keep my holy name under your mouth if it's not for a blessing. Rock and roll for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, truckers, firefighters, electricians, those daycare workers who change some diapers, those in the fast food, putting up some hamburgers, switching up some cheeseburgers, putting up some melon, putting up some of that good warehouse work, putting up some of that good train conductors. You know, Wall Street finance, the public sanitation workers. You're gonna pick up the garbage today, and this morning they picked up the recycling in my neighborhood, and Thursday is gonna be the compost. Please, please, please finance them some of that good. Some of that good. Some of that good massage therapy sessions. I've been complaining in a way that I wish I could afford a massage therapy session, but I took a half an hour bath, cold, C-O-L-D, that cold bath, and it did me some good. I can take one tomorrow every day, I guess. I can take a cold bath. Probably gonna take one tomorrow again, and that's how we rock and roll. So now we're gonna just say my gratitude again, grateful, thankful. My rent's paid. July, we are August already, but I pay it every month. We're August. Paid my rent for the month of August. It's August 11th, 2025. Just gonna approach here a little bit of these fluffy right here. Paid my rent for the month of, is that cotton? No, looks like it, but it's not. Not that one. Paid my rent for the month of August. It's August 11th. Paid my electricity bill to Hydro-Quebec. Go Hydro-Quebec, go. Let's build more hydroelectric dams. And paid my phone bill. So Trinity of bills, triple bills. Paid those bills, and I guess end of August gonna have to. First days of September gonna have to pay again. First day of September 1st, still gonna have to pay again my rent, my electricity bill, and my phone, you know. But for now, I got some. I think I got. It's August 1st. I think I have $44.90 Canadian to live off. To live off until the end of the. But here I just got some corn in the backpack. Carry that corn. I took for me and for somebody else. I didn't take only for me, but I guess it adds a little bit of that workout, you know. Embellishes the workout a little bit here as we go, you know. It's always something which we gotta do, and my brain now switches to geopolitics. Because this point event in time of my life that is approaching the highways. They look like twins. Those two white trucks. Truckers, black, white, and rainbow, LUV. If you're a trucker, a baker, workers of our empire. And now my brain switches to geopolitics and integrally makes the analysis of this point event in time, how all our highways are potentially open for sabotage and espionage. And of course we have certain vulnerabilities, because of what I call DMA or A, direct military action or assistance. It's one of my philosophies and geopolitical theories that due to these DMAA, direct military action and assistance, we have created a potentially hostile non-NATO member diaspora community groups which could establish and work those foreign governments can of course potentially employ transnational criminal organized syndicates, transnational criminal organizations, in order to foment civil unrest, to exploit our vulnerabilities and take advantage of these coast to coast, ocean to ocean, North American Collective in different manners, which will be to our detriment. So that is just the fundamentally the ability what we have. And see that truck there? I don't know what's carrying, but it could potentially be carrying some bacon, some eggs, some sausages, some milk, some butter, some bread, some cucumber, some tomatoes, some onions, some cheese, some romaine lettuce, etc., 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 etc. That is, of course, very necessary for nutrition, for our foods. And how many truckers now on the Monday? Truckers on the Monday on the road? I don't know, but I know that they're carrying potentially our goods, so I'm gonna sing some of that rock and roll for them, and I gotta watch it for the dogs, because I get a little bit of the allergies. I get allergic reactions, you know, to certain species of dogs if they come too close. Not poodles. Poodles I can pet and I can admire them from afar, I guess, you know. So I guess I love them from afar. I love them from afar, from a distance, because I get a little bit of that. Get a little bit of that allergy. If they get too close, I get too much. I start sneezing. You see in one of my videos when it came, it jumped close to me. It was like this, close to the camera, and like a few seconds after, I went achoo, 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 like 4 big sneezes in a row. So it's not severe allergic reaction, but it makes me allergic enough to start sneezing. So it's kind of mild allergies to their fur, the length and the thickness of their fur, but not poodles. Poodles I can pet for hours and days, and I can sleep with. Not literally, of course, but I mean they can sleep next to me if they want. They will. There's poodles, you know, if they want. Besides that, I'm good at rock and roll. I'm good at geopolitics. Dancing is my favorite sport, you know. I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm 50-50, androgynous, pansexual, centrist, pro-labor, love, universal, revolutionary, centrist. My centrism and democratic republicanism, Republican democratism. My centrism is tied hand in hand with my Trinity of theories, has to be understood fully, and it's for the North American Collective. That is my Trinity of theories, which via my dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, our empire, calling for its manifestation, implementation, N.A.C.W.P by and via the DRT, debt fusion theory, CIT, citizen integration theory, and DFT, democratic fusion theory. That trinity of theories, of course, the DFT, democratic fusion theory, CIT, citizen integration theory, and the DRT, of course, to be implemented via a 4th dimension, LUV, you know, because you gotta have some love at least. At least I hope somebody making love today. Main message is HUG, hug today. With consent, don't start hugging random people across the 63. Our 63, the 10, the 15, the 3, which we're going to unite, fuse my way, brothers and sisters, because the king is absent. But HUG with consent like you never hugged before, that is the main message. And it's always something which we got to be mindful about and got to be protruding about. And sometimes we just gotta start our fitness journey today. I always say my fitness journey starts today. It actually started after I crossed Canada coast to coast. 2017, I was 293 pounds about. So I started my fitness journey after I got out of my depression by crossing Canada coast to coast, and I've written and have and will continue to advocate for what's called the MAS, Public-Private Partnership, North American Integrated Initiative to finance 63 territories, provinces and states, intra-tourism between Canada and the United States for general wellness. And of course it did me lots of good, and of course I believe that it could do other people lots of good as well. So we need to mass finance tourism, and it requires a public-private partnership, just like have been and will continue to call for the mass financing via public-private partnership. All corporations, institutions across the 63, for fellow citizens to be, of course, encouraged to work out, train, exercise as well, especially my workout training program system, which now we're going to delve into that, and we're going to go into geopolitics because that's what I know. So I'm going to just focus on what I am as an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, independent geopolitical analyst, theorist, thinker, and strategist. And my strategies, of course, are for the North American Collective, and that's how I have to do, and that's how I have to appellate. And here we're gonna play a little bit of that right here. We're gonna press this one like that sometimes. That's what we're gonna do, you know. We're gonna go in the sun a little bit, and we're gonna look a little bit at the ports here, what's written there, if I could decipher there. You know, if I could decipher there what it is. I'm gonna try to decipher that. Maybe is that a geopolitical message? I'm not sure if it is. Do you think that's a geopolitical message? I'm not sure. I gotta say there's a symmetry to it, just like that FOST, the colors there, FOST, just like that, those colors, there's quite to be a similar message. And I think I missed my turn. Doesn't matter. We're gonna just focus a little bit on that message there, what's written there, and that's how we go there. You know, we're gonna do it on the go, and we're gonna meditate, of course, on all the civilizational complex of which we have here from North America. All the train conductors, gotta salute them, wherever they are. They're working in those train conductors. They're traveling coast to coast, ocean to ocean across the 63, maybe carrying, of course, super important goods. Of course, we gotta salute, we gotta LUV, whatever they're doing, whoever they are, sending some love, sending some rock and roll, some respect, because they're integral part of our North American civilizational complex, and of course integral for our collective strategy, which we're gonna adopt for the total BD, benevolent dominance and dominion of the geopolitical complex in the world via the fusion of Canada and United States into that trinity of complexes, being by the implementation of my trinity of theories, the CIT citizen integration theory, the DRT depth fusion theory, and the DFT democratic fusion theory. So that is something which we have to do, and we have to implement together. And now I'm gonna go back in time a bit, 2019. I'm gonna go a bit back in time. 2019, October, November, I have predicted what's happening now. Back in October, November 2019, I predicted that there's gonna be an international conflagration in the coming XYZ years in such a manner that it is, of course, happening now. So I predicted what's happening now. I predicted it back in 2019, October, November. And of course, I have proof, because I have the video online discussing day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and until day hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of my World War III scenario. So of course, I predicted an international conflagration. I predicted, of course, a World War III. I predicted, of course, that there's going to be a circumstance, and there's going to be, of course, a world such as it is now. And of course, I predicted what's happening now in a general manner. What I did not predict, and this I have to be fully honest about and direct about, because we need to find solutions. I did not predict that there's going to be, of course, a deterioration of relations between Canada and the United States, and a continuing trade war. Although you know that since 2018, and I've been having and will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match, and you know that I have, of course, have those gloves. Got those gloves in the backpack. Good son, and got those gloves in the backpack, and it was red from my anonymous friend, and I have been and will continue to, of course, work out, train, exercise, and of course to get it on the LUV and on the butchers and on the bakers, on the doctors, for the grocery store clerks. Gonna get it on the go, and gonna get it on the now, and gonna get it for the XYZ, and That's how we're gonna get doing with that, and that's how we're gonna go on that left. Right Z here, we're gonna press. Which one is gonna press? This is the one that we're gonna press here. Maybe this one. Oh yeah, this one. It's not stated here. See, now this one is for down one. Down one is for down. See how it works? This one is for down. It's perpendicular like that. So you have to discern, you know. You have to discern which one it is to get the lights properly. Because if I press both, it's not, you know, it's not really valuable for me to press that one as well. So they're kind of, that one faces that one and this one faces down. But usually if the one before where you pressed, it has the line. So it's indicated by the flash and by the line. So that is what it's decided to get doing now. And of course, it's something which we have to always be mindful as we are. Of course, in the public, we got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations, which of course do not fully apply if I would have stayed home, you know. And I'm always curious about certain details. See that aspiness there? Asperger's. She makes, of course, us focus on those special interests there and those special things of which we have, of course, for Aspies. We focus on certain details, such as those numbers there. See? So, although I see a bit blurred because I was prescribed some of those glasses, I think this is 2019. Interestingly enough, it says 2019, see? Interesting enough, because we were discussing 2019 is exactly when I predicted that there's going to be an international conflagration. 2019. In October, November, and I have proof. That's what I predicted, and that was of course my prediction that humanity were set again towards an international conflagration, and here we are, you know, on a level of escalation by the tensions, and we're not going to go that way. Usually we go that way more of the time. We're not gonna go towards the sun that way. I'm just gonna put some sunscreen there and gonna get a little bit of that sunscreen on the go and make sure that we have a little bit of, actually we don't need a lot of sunscreen, but maybe because we are in the sun and it's a hot sun, it's a heat wave, maybe we should put a little bit of sunscreen. I don't want to bother anybody who's there, you know. Sometimes there are people there, and if I bother somebody, you know, to get it with the families or whoever it is. I see blurred. I was prescribed some glasses, but you know, I don't have the money to pay, you know. Gonna be costly a little bit on that, and gonna be some costly, because paying 120 it's still gonna cost me, you know. Still gonna cost me a little bit. If it costs me a little bit, maybe without from the government sponsorship, it's not gonna be able. I'm not gonna be able to do it, you know. So that is just something which we have to be thinking about. And when we're in different financial circumstances and conditions, sometimes getting these extra things which can help our life. Look at that, 4 Quebec flags, 400. Here's a Quebecer, Canadian, North American. We love our French language, and I guess I should put a little bit of sunscreen, eh? Just a bit. Since I have it, might as well use it, and then we can continue our journey and continue our workout. Gonna do a little other route, and gonna hydrate also because it's hot. HOT, heat wave. It's really hot, so gonna hydrate as much. Water, water, water. Yeah, it's good use. Now we can proceed. You never know. So I got those red gloves in the backpack here, you know. Having them will continue to challenge Donald Trump to a boxing match ever since 2019. Correction, actually 2018 when Donald Trump first imposed tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. And I would have voted for Biden, Kamala. Let it be known from past videos from years and years and years that I'm a mystic believer in reincarnations, and I was born in the United States 3 times post 7076. Once as a woman, twice as a man. Once as a woman, twice as a man. This is a man was I was born in the U.S. post 7076. I served in the same United States Armed Forces twice. Same United States Armed Forces, 2 different wars. So I'm a Canadian American in many ways, as much as I can be a world citizen. I'm a Canadian, North American, Canadian. We're gonna unite that North and South, Canada and United States my way, like the Trinity of theories and a mass public-private partnership, a mass public-private partnership, which we gotta do, and that's all we got to do, and that's all we gotta get that love in. And you know, I'm joyous. I've been through a lot, and there's the providence. Nobody's born a dragon. There's the providence. For the 63, our empire perpetually let it be. For the 63, our empire perpetually let it be. For the 63, our empire perpetually let it be. We're gonna unite fuse the 10, the 50, and the 3. The 10, the 50, and the 3, and that's the number 63 there. By providence, as we go now towards the sun, the number 63 was written down. Could have been in black. It was in white. Could have been in black and white and rainbow, or red. My favorite color, red, because the sun is red in rising, red in setting. And for the 63, our perpetual empire, let it be. And that's what we have. What do we have there? Oh, we have some card which I cannot show. I cannot show, but that's always good also. I cannot show. Oh, there's a match. Oh, some adult playing cards. Yeah, that's always good. Some good loving. It's kind of funny. I'm not gonna show it because it's a bit on the adult side, but you get the gist. Gotta get it for now. And de quoi? Non, mais pas bien loin de la Chine, mais loin de le pays de la Chine, là. Vous êtes loin, mais vous êtes pas mal juste là, l'autre bord. Pas loin du site, là. En 5-10 minutes, là.
Vous déménagez là, puis là, je passe un bicycle.
Ouais, mais faites attention, des fois, vous êtes bien mieux d'aller sur l'autre bord ici, là. Comme ça de même, là. Ouais. Ouais. Ben ouais, ça me fait plaisir. Il y a le canal de la Chine aussi, ça vous intéresse, là, c'est vraiment beau. Ouais. Wait a minute. Ouais. Fait que la Chine là-bas, vous avez une belle place là, si vous êtes jamais allé pour voir le coucher du soleil. Là. C'est vraiment beau avec la rivière. L'autre bord, vous pouvez voir la rive sud, l'autre bord. Là. Si vous n'êtes pas habitué, je vous conseille d'aller peut-être voir ça. C'est vraiment beau.
Je trouve ça beau, mais ça fait 30 ans que je
Ah, OK. 30 ans, c'est quand même un bout, là.
Je vais à Montréal, mais la Chine, ça fait longtemps que je
OK.
suis déménagé là la semaine dernière, mais j'avais 2 vélos en ligne.
Ah ouais, ah ouais.
Je m'en pas ici, c'est ça.
OK, ouais, je vois ça. Vous avez fait... Ah ouais. C'est la canicule en plus. 35 degrés qui faisait. Moi, j'ai jamais vu ça. Tantôt, je voyais 35 degrés. J'ai jamais vu ça dans ma vie. J'en ai vu du 30, 31, mais pas 35.
35, 62 avec l'Udex.
62 en plus de ça.
Non, mais je suis blague, mais ça m'a rappelé. L'humidité, il y a beaucoup d'humidité.
Ouais. En tout cas, je vous laisse là-dessus. Vous avez déménagé à la Chine, vous êtes nouveau dans...
Oui.
Hein?
Un bel appartement.
Ah ouais, ah ouais?
Bon, moi, je suis allé. Mais là, il faut que je traverse à un moment donné.
Non, ne traversez pas ici, vous êtes en danger si vous êtes traversé ici.
Moi, je suis allé.
Fait qu'il y a en dessous du pont, dans le fond. Vous allez voir un pont, vous allez voir un Tim Hortons. Fait que là, dès que vous voyez le Tim Hortons, dans le fond, il y a deux. Si vous êtes mieux d'aller tout droit de même, puis de prendre la gauche, puis aller par la rivière. Puis après ça, mais que vous voyez le canal, vous allez tourner à droite. Parce que si je vous envoie par là, vous allez encore être parallèle à l'autoroute. Fait que c'est ça l'embauche un peu, là. C'est ça la...
Quand on vient en autobus, tu sais, au métro, c'est le métro du N.A.C.W.P.
Ouais.
L'autobus, ça passe là-dessus, de vitesse forte.
Ouais. Parce que le problème, c'est l'autoroute, c'est... Fait que dans le fond, si vous pouvez aller par la droite, dans le fond, mais si vous rentrez par la droite, après ça, il va falloir que vous retournez à gauche. Fait que dans le fond, quand vous allez le Tim Hortons, vous tournez à gauche, puis après ça, vous allez sur le bord de la rivière à droite. Puis après ça, vous allez sur le bord de la rivière à droite, vous tournez à droite, au bout, okay, vous allez peut-être voir du monde qui sont en train de faire du poisson, là, ils vont poissonner, là, ils vont faire de la pêche, là. Vous tournez à droite.
OK.
Plaisir. Bye bye. So that is a little bit of a fellow cousin uncle there who's asking some direction in French, and he's asking some of those directions. And I asked him how he goes to the. He asked me how to get to Lachine, so I told him how to get to be on the road. The same things, the same directions basically that I'm going, but also me, I'm gonna turn on the other way. So he was on the bike, and I didn't want to send him to do a bit of a zigzag because the problem is the highway here. So he asked me for directions, and I in French, of course, and I told him how it would be the situation for him to go left and right. If the best way for him to do it would be basically to turn left and then right. Basically, that was what he's asked for, you know. That's what he asked in French. So we love our French here. We just love our French, and that's why we have to do the situation and figure out how we're gonna continue this great compromise which we did of the French languages. And here we got a little bit of that rock and roll, and we got some of that good loving with that, and that's something which we have to do as we roll together here, you know. Here you can come and explore Montreal and learn some French. I get a new service there, that's new. Sure wanted to get this all done for the Dragon Army complex, and now we're gonna get back to geopolitics. So leave the baggage at the door. Back in 2019, I had predicted what's happening now. I predicted it back in 2019 in October, November. So I predicted that there's gonna be an international conflagration on the horizon that's gonna come in the coming XYZ years. So I gave a little bit of a few years, in the coming 7 years type of timeline that I've provided. So I have proof, again, proof for what I said. So back in 2019, I had concluded, based on several levels of analysis, some of them multifactorial, a bit academic, intellectual, sophisticated, but I had predicted that these conflicts are going to commence in the coming 7 years or so, and that's going to be an international conflagration of World War III mainly. And one of the main premise was that due to the fact that there were still unresolved conflicts from the 20th century, so many unresolved conflicts lingered from the 20th century, specifically from the Cold War period, right? Specifically from the Cold War period. And if you look at the situation globally, the world, what's happening is those conflicts from the Second World War, the Cold War period, which lasted from between March 1947 until December 1991. So about 44 years, about almost 45 years, 44 years and 9 months. 44 years and 9 months. Some say 47 years, 46 years. Some say 46 and 45 years. Some started at 1945, September 1945, October 1945. Some say 1946. I place the Cold War between March 1947 and December 1991. So officially for me, the Cold War lasted exactly 44 years and 9 months, or I say almost 45 years, almost 45 years. Now, I'm willing to say 45. I don't mind, but officially for me, it is between March 1947 and 1991. Some say 1946 and 1991, end of 1991, because the end we can agree that it was December 26, 1991, with the dissolution of the Soviet Empire by the perestroika by Gorbachev. Now, I predicted that these conflicts are going to restart, and Russia-Ukraine is a conflict which dates from the Cold War period, as is Israel-Hamas. Israel-Hamas is a conflict which dates from that specific time. Israel-Hamas, right? Hamas is an organization which was founded in the 1980s during the Cold War period. It didn't take power until 20 years after its foundation. 20 years after its foundation. 20 years after its foundation, right? Because 20 years after its foundation, that was, of course, the matters of hand, which, of course, were the foundations that it was the Hamas came to power in 2007, in June, after the little Gaza civil war of June 2007. So they took power, let's say, June, July 2007. Hamas, right? Hamas only took power 20 years after its foundation. It didn't come to power when they were founded. It took them decades. Hamas. Before that, you had Yasser Arafat and the PLO. I'm not going to go into the history of the Middle East, although I know the history, ideologies of the Israeli-Palestine conflict, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and Israeli-Middle Eastern conflict. And as much as I know their philosophies, ideologies, conflicts, and histories, and give and take, and conflicts, and wars, and treaties, and XYZs, and I'm a North American, right? I'm a North American, Canadian, Quebecer, Canadian, North American, and my philosophies, ideas are for the North American collective. And my uncle there, who just asked me for directions, took a step up because he took a little bit of breathing because he was hot. But he's my uncle. He's just moved in Lachine, and he's got a new apartment, he said, and that's always good, and it's always something which is good for him. Do a little biking, and that's great. Uncle, go, uncle, go, uncle, go. Just gotta stay hydrated because it's in a heat wave, but encouraging all to exercise. Exercise is great for the body. We gotta encourage ourselves to fitness, get back to health. For the 63, always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. That's the primary, because us as Canadians, Quebecers, and this is reciprocally for our fellow brothers and sisters in the United States. It is something which, of course, we have to state that our primary interest when it comes to foreign domestic affairs, foreign domestic affairs, when it comes to and towards and related to foreign domestic affairs, not domestic affairs, but external affairs, not domestic internal affairs. But when it comes to foreign affairs, this statement you have to accord in the positive, in the affirmative, with a yes, 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 yes. You cannot negate, you cannot say no, you cannot say maybe. You have to state consequently and prudently that, of course, we have to have the best, most cordial economic, social, financial, diplomatic, business, military, security relations, Canada versus the United States, with the United States, that is, and the United States with us. That is just our geopolitical reality. So that statement, you cannot negate, you cannot say no to that statement. That statement has to be a yes. It's a non-negotiable truth. It's a non-negotiable truth, a geopolitical fact. Coast to coast, ocean to ocean, we got, due to our geography, we got two oceans. We got the Atlantic to the east, the Pacific to the west. And again, the statement is, and this is for both Canada towards and with the United States, and reciprocally, the United States vis-a-vis us. We must strive as our number one priority, if we are to prioritize our top foreign affairs priority, is to have the best, most cordial economic, financial, commercial, diplomatic, military relations with the United States. That's just the reality. You cannot negotiate with that. It's not argumentative. You cannot argue with that statement. That is just what it is. It's just like, the pi symbol representing the relations, the circumference to the circle, circumference ratio with the circle. It's always 3.1416. It's always 3.1416, right? 3.1416 is a number. It reflects the relation with the circumference of the circle, right? And the circumference of the circle, the circumference of the circle. And of course, that was just what it is. So that relation, of course, is of course something which we have to be understanding about. That is always the same, always the same. It is just like the pi number. The pi symbol, the N, of course, with two heads. Two heads, two faces. Thus our empire will have sort of those two heads. The 63, the union of the 63. Of course, so that is of course what it is. It's always the same. It does not change. The pi symbol represents the value, the numerical value, of course, of that relationship. So it's nothing that can be negotiated. Just like aforementioned, when I said, of course, that our main interest has to be, again, exactly, for us to have the best, most cordial economic, social, financial, at all levels. Our primary interest is to have the best, most cordial economic, social, financial relations with each other. That is just what it is with that. That is just what it is. That is just what it is. It has not changed, It has not changed. That is a constant. The pi symbol, the N. The two-headed N. It's two-faced, two heads. And like the letter Normandy, natural, neurological, neutral. The letter N. That is just how it is. It does not change. That is the numerical value does not change. It's always 3.1416. 3.1416. It's always that number. So it does not change. Right? It does not change. So thus, for us, our main interest is to have the best, most cordial relations with each other. And that is symbolized by the constant. It's a constant, mathematical constant, right? So you have variables and constant. Variables change, constants do not. So the pi symbol, it's always that number, 3.1416, right? So it does not change, right? It does not change. So thus, for us, that is just the truth. That is the mathematical truth. So that is not changed as I come to see, of course, the beautiful sunset. Here is the Dollar Street, and gonna get it on the go. And guess we can go that way towards the sunset, and then we can come back. Maybe we should go on this side, because we rarely take this route. We usually take the route there by the side, but I guess this time we can take this route here. Can get it in, and now you can cross. See, here's a bit different than the other ones, because here you can cross, and when you have the little sign, so our main interest again is to have the best, most cordial relations with the United States. That doesn't change. That is always the same. That is a mathematical. The P symbol, which represents the relation with the ratio and the circumference and the diameter. That ratio, diameter, circumference always is 3.141516 ad infinitum, right? The pi symbol. It's a mathematical pi. It's not a pi, edible pi. It's the symbol pi, representing the relationship with the diameter and the ratio and the circumference of a circle. So that number doesn't change. Thus, for the past 75 years, at least since the dissolution of the British Empire, it has been so, and it is so today, and it will be for decades and decades and decades and decades to go from now on. So that statement is again and again, it's for both us, Canada, for Canadians, Quebecers, Canadians vis-a-vis the United States, vis-a-vis the United States, vis-a-vis us, vis-a-vis us, vis-a-vis us. So that is always a little bit of understanding, because it's the United States vis-a-vis us, and us vis-a-vis the United States, So that is just the reciprocity. That is just the truth. That is just how it is. You cannot negotiate that away. You cannot say no to it. You cannot say no to it. So that is just the mathematical truth for the pi symbol, and that is the truth when it comes to our top interest and priority, and whether you're on the left, on the right, on the right, on the left, in the center, center right, center left. I'm not referring to extremes here, far left or far right. That is just how you have to situate, or our politicians, or as the main the number one priority when it comes to foreign affairs for us. If you have a hierarchy of top, most important, with whom do we have to have the best economic, commercial, military, diplomatic, social, cultural, even social, cultural, right? Sports, social, culture and sports, as well as defense, security, and finance and business and economics. Us, it is with the United States. It's just the reality. But the reality is that it's also the United States vis-a-vis us, although they also have a border with Mexico. They also have a border with Mexico. So that is something which you have to fully understand and comprehend. Right? Fully understand and comprehend. So that is just the truth. That's true. That cannot be negotiated. that cannot be negotiated.